Привет, друзья! Hello, my friends! We're talking today about a very tricky, basic thing, how to learn Russian. And I have three tips how to manage your time while learning Russian and how to do it in a more productive way. You know that learning a new language is a big deal. It takes a lot of time and energy to get from one level to another. And the worst thing in this process of language acquisition is that this process has no end. And even I, a native speaker, a certified Russian teacher, sometimes I come across unfamiliar words in a dialect speech, in old books, you know. But our main goal when we're learning the Russian language or any other is to make our ideas clear, говорить понятно, and not to sound too silly. Не звучать глупо. So my 3 life hacks. The first, and maybe even obvious, is set your goal. To make the learning process easier, first it's important to figure out why you are learning. Do you want just to learn Russian in general? It's not a very specific goal. What goals are specific? For example, I want to learn Tolstoy's novel in original. Я хочу прочесть роман Толстого в оригинале. It's a good idea. I want to understand the business language in my negotiations in Russia. Я хочу понимать бизнес-речь, когда я буду на переговорах в России. Great. I want to visit Russia and to communicate freely in cafes, restaurants, museums, or whatever. Я хочу приехать в Россию и общаться легко в кафе, ресторанах и музеях. It's a great goal. Maybe I want to date a Russian girl or a Russian man. Я хочу познакомиться с девушкой из России. Why not? I want to get to A2 level, basic Russian, in 10 weeks. It's my personal challenge. Why not? Я хочу достичь уровня А2, базовый русский, за 10 недель. These goals sound realistic. Звучат реалистично. They are clear, понятны, ясны, and achievable, достижимы. They must be really valuable for you, ценные. It's important to remember, помнить about your goals while learning. So the first tip is to set and remember your goals. And tip number 2, how to achieve your goal. To know the Russian language means to do 4 activities. 4. To speak, говорить. To read, читать. To write, писать. To listen, слушать. Tip number 2 is to combine these 4 activities for effective learning. All these 4 components should be in the learning process on a regular basis. It is great if you can do them every day. Speaking, говорение. Fortunately, we are living in the time of internet, время интернета. Now you can find a native speaker using a lot of web resources or while traveling. It is not a very hard thing to do. For example, language exchange. Have you heard about it? But I think speaking with a certified teacher and native speaker is more efficient than just a native speaker, because you can speak correctly from the very beginning. You know that in MyRUSkey school you'll meet certified Russian teachers for one-on-one lessons or for speaking practice in speaking clubs. Get it right now, the link is below. The next activity is writing. We advise you to write by hand and also to type on a keyboard. These are different ways to memorize the vocabulary and the grammar of the Russian language. If you want to improve your writing skills, you can join our WhatsApp chat. Every day we're talking with our students, and if you are our student, it is for free. And if you are still not a MyRUSkey student, you can join our WhatsApp chat for the price of 2 cups of coffee. We have a special package for 1 week, 1 speaking club and everyday conversation in WhatsApp chat. So let's write and talk. Reading is another third activity. What do you read in Russian? Russian books, Instagram feed, Telegram feed, Facebook, news. What do you prefer? I recommend you to start, if you choose books, I recommend you to start from Chekhov, Dragunsky and Nosov. The last 2 authors, they wrote funny stories for kids. The fourth activity is listening. The simplest way to find clear speech of a native speaker is to follow Google Podcasts. It's like radio channels. You choose interesting topic, speaker, and just follow the podcast. I can advise you the Lifehacker in Russian. You know this channel about tips, advices, life hacks, so on. Podlotka, a podcast, Russian podcast about IT and modern city life. And one more very funny podcast is Zavarili. Zavarili is a story of one Russian girl who has her own business, a coffee house. So to speak, it's a podcast about business for beginners in Russian. Links to the podcasts are also below. And one more good web resource for you is a YouTube channel of Mosfilm. Mosfilm is a film company like Russian Hollywood. So we discussed 2 tips and I have one more. You know that you need to combine 4 activities. And it's very important, tip number 3, to do it regularly. To know language means to use it every day, in everyday life. Unfortunately, if you stop speaking for a few months, you will lose your speaking skills. So learn the language daily, switch the phone and the computer operating system to the Russian language. Watch movies and listen to podcasts while driving, so learn Russian as often as possible. Как можно чаще. Even 30 years ago, learning Russian was extremely hard. It was difficult to communicate to the Soviet people. Not enough learning materials, so feel the difference now. You have a lot of opportunities and technical means to learn Russian. Let's repeat these 3 tips. Set and remember your goal. Combine 4 activities: reading, listening, writing, and speaking in everyday life on a regular basis. And what are we doing here? Давайте учить русский. Пора.